It is my pleasure to be able to introduce you to Mary Ricketts. You have to get laser focused. Mary is a powerful and intentional certified speaker, coach, and trainer through the John Maxwell team. She has taken her 30 years of corporate and business experience to deliver topics that will nudge you to a path of consistent change and growth. With every business and leadership experience she's had, she will help you become laser focused, motivated to do great things. Outside of her signature speaking series and John Maxwell programs, Mary teaches and trains over 100 courses designed for personal and professional development, including mastermind and group training. I'm so thrilled to be able to introduce you to Mary Ricketts, and her topic is resilience and grit. 9 ways to build your toolkit. Welcome, Mary. So glad that you're
thank you
here.
so much. Thank you so much, Vicki. I am so excited to talk and share with your audience today. So I'm excited and I am ready, and I appreciate the opportunity to pour into people today.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to hearing you.
Thank you so much. Let's get started, you guys. Let's talk about 9 ways to really build your resilience and grit. And here's what's interesting is because when you even just think about those 2 words together, resilience and grit, I can't talk about one without talking about the other. Because here's the thing, you really might be skilled and talented and brilliant, but if you are not resilient and persistent and gritty, you are going to really struggle with all of your other great attributes about yourself. So think about the 5 most successful people that you know. Just think about them real quick. Who pops into your mind outside of Vicki Cannon? Who else is going to pop into your mind? Because on the average, they're probably not that talented. However, they know how to get things done and be persistent. So when we talk about resilience and grit, some things might be some missing ingredients in your quest for success. So I want to talk about some techniques that you can use to really help increase your resilience and grit. And in this, I'm going to probably share with you some funny personal stories along the way. Here's one of the first things that you really want to keep in mind when we talk about being resilient and gritty. You have to stay in contact with other people, because when times get tough, it's really natural to crawl into that hole and be all by yourself. And we've all been there. When it gets tough and it hits the fan, it's like, you know what, I probably just need to be away from everyone. I need some me time. But you've got to be a little careful with that, because sometimes that can really be a mistake, because you're more capable with a support system. So give up that idea that strong people can take on the world all by themselves. That's just in the movies. That is not real life. And that's really not how we operate. You are stronger when you have help and support. So I want to encourage everyone, when the time gets tough, don't push yourself and back up in a corner and shut people off. That's really not the time that you want to do that. And when you think about a support system, I try and keep in mind, even for myself, I know who to call depending on what's going on in my life or in my business, because it all kind of ties together when you're a business owner and you're the entrepreneur. But think about who's that circle that you can really reach out to, that you can say, you know what, it's tough right now. I've got a lot going on. I'm feeling like I'm at the edge and I need a little support. Because guess what? There's nothing that can make me a little sadder when one of my connections, whether it's just professional or personal, didn't call me and say, Mary, I'm having a tough day. Because people who care about you in business and professional settings, guess what, you guys? We want to be there for each other, right? We want to be there to help support one another. So I want to encourage you to stay connected with others and really maintain your relationship, those strong people that you can really count on and depend on. And let me add this in there as well. We're just not talking about the folks who just always agree with Mary and Vicki. Right? Not those people. We just don't want, the people who always agree with us. We really want to have those people around us that can help us take another look at a situation. Sound good? Yes.
Yes.
Let's look at one more. Have high hopes. It's easier to stand strong when you expect things to improve, right? When we can look at the glass either half full or half empty, we've all heard that before, but it really is. It's easier to stand strong in a tough situation and really become resilient when you expect things to improve. So consider every bad time that you've ever had in your life. If you could just take a moment and think about those. And some of us may not have to go back too far. It could have just been last week or last month or even, last year. But haven't things gotten a little bit better every single time? So when you know that better things are ahead for you, for your business, for your family, for your career, for your company, grit and resilience really can become easier to demonstrate. So what am I really talking about? I want you to really focus on what those positive outcomes can be for you. What can they be for your team, for your company, for your business, for your family? You've got to think about where you're focusing your attention. Remember, I love thinking about being laser focused. So think about that. It's easier to stand strong when you expect things to improve. I want to say something, kind of funny right now, because depending on where you are in life, depending on where you are in your career and in your business, we have all had those sucker punches in business. I can remember years ago, the first time that I got laid off, and I won't even say what company it was, but it was probably like a company like Sprint. I said it. But it was a sucker punch, right? And I had never experienced that in my life. I had left AT&T, 17 years and, went over to the other side just to experience a layoff. But guess what? Things did get better. Things got better. Things improved. I became more resilient. And I realized, you know what? I made it through that. And that's what I want you to think about. Think about what's already happened in your life. Think about how you made it through that bad situation and that bad time. And remember that there was something great that could come out of that. And I think that that's huge when we have to remember we've got to keep having high hopes in every situation that happens. Here's another one. Know that the most successful people are really those that are the most resilient. So it might be easy to be wealthy and successful, but becoming wealthy and becoming successful is anything but easy. The most successful people were willing to take on the challenges that average people usually like to avoid, like the plague. Think about that. We get to hear the success stories, you guys, when people have made it, right? But if we go back and we look at what they had to go through to get to where they are, that's when you're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? I recently had the opportunity to have Steve Harvey was the guest speaker for one of our John Maxwell events that we had. And I was just like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. We didn't get to talk to him, but we got to listen to him. And you talk about a story of resilience. And I know he's not the only one, but when you think about all of the things that some of these people had to go through, they've arrived, so to speak, right? But it was the getting there that had that they had to go through. And one of the questions that John Maxwell had asked Steve Harvey, if you could do it all over again, would you change anything? And Steve Harvey was like, no, because guess what? That's what's made me the man that I am today. And it is the same thing for all of us. We have to remember that getting there is really where we have to grit and grind and be resilient and stay laser focused on what that end game is. Stay laser focused in that tough time so that we can realize, you know what? And maybe guess what? One of the best things that I did years ago was really look at someone else's story. Right? I had to look at someone else's story, whether it was a loss of a loved one, it was someone's business that almost went in the pit and came back out, or it was someone, else I had to look at that had to take care of a family member. And I did it, but guess what? I had some success stories that I could look at that really helped me become resilient in that area because it was something new for me, right? Some things pop up and they're sucker punches, but sometimes when we can look at someone else's story, it will help us take it to the next level. Here's another one that sometimes we forget. Take care of yourself. Don't forget to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. No matter what's going on in your life, you still need to have some of the basics, you guys, like food, rest, love, exercise, and fun. You've got to take good care of yourself, and you'll be in a better position to weather the storms and weather the challenges when they pop up. I had a great conversation with my pastor late one evening, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's out walking. Why? Because he was like, it's been a very, very tough day. I needed to get some air. And it was so funny because I said, you know what? I had to do the same thing early in the morning because the morning had already started out tough. And guess what? It's okay. It happens. But don't forget what your personal needs are. And we have to take time to take care of ourselves. I can't be resilient if I'm not healthy. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I have to be healthy or I'm really, really challenged when the challenges come. I think that's a good rhyme. You know, I don't want to be challenged on the health side when the challenges hit because they are going to come. Think about when the last one hit or if you're in one now. Either you're in one, just came out of one, or you could be heading into one. It's it's just life. It's just life. But most people tend to ignore their personal needs during the difficult times, and that is a huge error. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, eating right, getting your rest. You want to be loved. You want to exercise, and oh my goodness, don't forget to have some fun. Here's another one for you. Be active, not passive. It really is easier to last when you're doing something to make progress. So rather than passively just waiting for things to get better, you really want to take steps to improve your situation. If there is something constructive you can do, you need to do it. When things get tough in my business, one of the things I actually have a worksheet that's called my income producing activities. And I know it's nothing new, but my goodness, when I started working on that, so that, you know what, even when it's tough and even when I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do anything today, I know that I at least have to get 3 to 5 of these things done. Now, after that, I might take the day, but I know that if I don't become active in some area for my business, that I'm going to cause more issues later down the line. Right? So think about that, especially if you're a business owner and you're an entrepreneur, or even within working with your team, if you're leading your team or you're a part of a team, don't forget to be active and take those steps that you can to really, really improve the situation. And sometimes, you guys, I journal. I love to write things out. It's okay to journal that. You know what? Okay, it's a tough day, but let me take a moment and just think, if there are 3 things, if there are 2 things, if there are 5 things that I could think about that maybe happened last time, how can I fix this? How can I move forward in the right direction and help improve the situation that's going on? Here's another one. Here's number 6 for you. You ready? Give yourself mental breaks. No matter how resilient you may be, take regular breaks to charge your batteries. Vicky and I were just talking about that. When we're training, a team, there's only so much you can handle at one time. Jack Vaughn calls it load limits. You have a load limit. And guess what? You do, I do, we all do. We have a load limit. I can only carry so much at a time. When you think about some of the jobs out there, especially like, an Amazon or something like that, where they're like, how much can you lift? You've got a limit on that too. So think about, what's your favorite way to take a mental break? What's your favorite way? And guess what? You may want to do something new, but think about what's your best way to take a mental break. We are homeschooling, online schooling a 14-year-old boy. You better believe that I've become creative on what it's like for he and I together to take a mental break. And it might be 10 minutes, it might be 30 minutes, depending on what's going on in the day. So it's okay to be creative. It's okay to think of, what are those things? There are some things you have to be careful with, like, shutting down and getting on a movie binge. But it's okay. And maybe you say, I'm just going to watch one episode of something, and then I'm going to get back into the flow of thing. Reading a book, playing a game. And there's some fun things that you can do, like listen to a podcast, get on YouTube and find your best motivational speaker and get recharged. But here's the thing, do whatever works for you. Do whatever works for you. I have a client that loves to go for mile walks, and that's their mental break. But you have to figure out what it is for you, and not the mental break that you're going to get sulky and go further in the pit. But if we're talking about building resilience, you want that mental break that's going to charge you back up, and that you're going to be ready in that 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you need. Number 7 for you, remind yourself of all the adversity you've already overcome since your childhood. So if you go back to that elementary school, middle school, high school, college years, but go back, because no one's life was smooth sailing 100% of the time. So you've already overcome probably more obstacles than you care to think about, but you're already an overcomer. You already have a great track record of where you've been and where you are now. And even if the spot you're in right now feels so super tough, you've already come out of so many other things. You've already done it. This is why I think journaling is such a beautiful thing. Keeping track of where you've been and where you are now, what you've already overcome. You guys, we've done it. We've been through so many things. I can remember, the first time that my daughter, who is now 30, the first time she had an earache. I thought I was going to pull my hair out. We overcame that. I remember chicken pox. And those are the little things that at the time seemed like a huge issue, right? Think about maybe a surgery that you came out of that was scary. But guess what? You did it. And you came out of whatever that tough situation is. When you thought you had to close your business, or you did close your business, but guess what? Maybe you had a new vision to start in something else. But you've got a track record, and remind yourself of your past successes during challenging times. You'll have the fortitude and the motivation and the focus so that you can still continue. 2 more that I want to give you. Here's another one. Live a life that revolves around your interests. There is nothing worse, you all, than having a job that you absolutely hate. It's hard to have a lot of grit and resilience when you're in an atmosphere and you are working, and maybe it's not the culture of the place, but maybe it's just the job that you do, but you hate it. You don't want to do that. It's much easier to have perseverance and resilience and grit when you are doing something that you absolutely love to do. When you've heard that quote, if you love it, it'll never feel like work. But it's okay if you want to make a change, right? It's okay if you realize, I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like it. I remember having one of my children change their focus in their senior year of nursing school. I thought I was going to cringe. And she's like, I love healthcare. I love helping take care of people. She said, but I don't know that that's the direction I want to go in doing it. She's now doing what she loves. It's my daughter. But she's now doing something she absolutely loves when it comes to health and wellness. She just had to make a little bit of a turn. So here's what I want you to do. Find a career and hobby that you love. The need for grit really becomes a lot lower when we're doing things that we love. when we are doing things that we enjoy, our interest, it is okay to make a change if you're in that spot, right? If I love what I do, the grit is lower. I don't have to have as much resilience, right? It just comes natural. You wake up in the morning, you love what you do, and you go for it. Here's the last one I want to share with you. You ready for this one? Vicki, this one is simple. Hang around with resilient people. You become more like the people you spend the most time with. We've heard that one before, right? What's the old saying we used to hear from our parents? Birds of a feather flock together. So take a look at your circle, your tribe. Think about who are the men and women that you are spending the most time with. Choose your friends wisely. Choose your connections wisely. Be careful of what you're listening to from your circle and your influence, because if it's not uplifting and everybody is in the gloom and doom and complaining, that's not where you need to be. And if you're the only one pumping up the tribe and the circle and the team, you may need to adjust a little bit who's in your circle and who you're considering a part of your tribe, because you'll become a stronger person if you hang out with strong people. So find some people that you want to be more like. If I know that I really struggle, when I lose a client, I need to hang around somebody who's like, you know what, it's okay. Because when one leaves, you might be able to open up space for three more. I can remember speaking to a woman in one of our circles, Vicki. This was several years ago, when I really needed to fire a client, and I was so scared. And I heard someone share their story of when they had to get rid of a client because that client just emotionally drained them. And I'm like, you mean I can do that? It's okay. And they were like, yes, I did it. It was exhilarating. So I want you to think about that. What could you do with your life if you were the most resilient and gritty person that you knew? I'm going to give you the secret. You'd be unstoppable. You would be absolutely unstoppable. So most people spend their time trying to improve their skills, and it might be more productive to learn how to apply your skills regardless of the situation. So as Vicki comes back in, to close us out, I just want to leave you with this: build resilience and grit into your life and enjoy greater success.
This was so wonderful. Thank you, Mary. I been writing notes, so you can see, just writing notes like, oh yes, that's another good one. That's another good one. I
Oh,
love
yay.
your 9 resilience and grit laser focused tips here. And, as we've been going through 2020, and so many
Mhm.
people have had so much that has come up, or just even dealing
Yes.
with having to work from home, or like you said,
Mhm.
you've got a kiddo at home that you're trying to get through school, and and that thing, are you in school, you're home from school, online, not
Mhm.
online,
Yes.
um, are we going to see people at the holidays, are we not going to see people at the holidays, what's safe, what's not safe, lots of turmoil. And
Mhm.
what do we do? And as I look at these, it's like going back to the basics,
Yes.
the basics of resilience and grit. And what can we do? And surround yourself with people, take care of yourself, you know
Yes.
don't isolate yourself. I mean, all
Absolutely.
these things that you were saying, and like I said, I've written all these different notes and go like, oh yeah, that's another good one. So thank you so much for sharing your gift with us about resilience and grit, and we look forward to seeing so much more for you this coming week in our group.
I am
Thank
so
you.
excited. I appreciate the opportunity.